In 1871, a German explorer named Heinrich Schliemann arrived at a low hill on the western coast of Turkey. Locals called it Hisarlik. Scholars had told him for years that what he was looking for didn't exist, that it was a myth, a story, a poem, nothing more. He dug anyway. 12 meters below the surface, he found walls, streets, buildings, treasures, and he had just excavated the city of Troy, a city that the academic world had dismissed as fiction for centuries. It had been buried beneath the earth the entire time, waiting. Troy was not the only one. Beneath the surface of this planet, under jungles, deserts, oceans, and plains, there are cities. Some were buried by catastrophe. Some were abandoned and swallowed by the earth over centuries. Some were deliberately hidden. And some were simply forgotten so completely that entire civilizations grew up with no memory that they had ever existed. In each case, when they were finally found, they rewrote what we thought we knew about the people who built them, how advanced they were, how far they traveled, and how much of human history is still waiting underground. These are 6 lost cities hidden beneath the earth. In Hindu scripture, Dwarka is described as a magnificent golden city, the kingdom of the god Krishna, built on the western coast of India and said to have been swallowed by the ocean after Krishna's death. For thousands of years it was treated as mythology. A beautiful story, nothing more. In 2001, the Indian National Institute of Ocean Technology was conducting a pollution survey in the Gulf of Kambat off the western coast of India, when their sonar equipment returned an unexpected reading. On the ocean floor, approximately 40 kilometers offshore and 30 meters below the surface, were the unmistakable geometric shapes of man-made structures. What the survey revealed was extraordinary: a city grid, streets, buildings, and what appeared to be a large central structure stretching across an area of approximately 9 square kilometers on the seafloor. Divers recovered artifacts including pottery, jewelry, and human remains. Carbon dating of a piece of wood recovered from the site returned a date of approximately 9,500 years ago. If accurate, this would make the Gulf of Kambat site the oldest urban settlement ever discovered, predating the earliest known cities in Mesopotamia by 5,000 years. The site remains deeply controversial. Some researchers argue the structures are natural geological formations. Others point to the clearly geometric layout and the recovered artifacts as evidence of human construction. Full excavation has never been completed. What is not disputed is this: at the end of the last ice age, sea levels in this region rose significantly, flooding vast areas of coastal land. Whatever was built on that coastline would have been swallowed by the ocean, exactly as the ancient texts described. For most of the 20th century, archaeologists believed that complex civilization in the Americas began with the Olmec in Mesoamerica, around 1500 BC. The Americas, the thinking went, were a late bloomer in the story of human urban development. Then, in 1994, Peruvian archaeologist Ruth Shady Solis began excavating a site in the Supi Valley that had been known about but largely ignored for decades. What she uncovered reset the entire timeline. What makes Caral genuinely extraordinary is not just its age, it is what it didn't have. Caral shows no evidence of warfare, no weapons, no fortifications, no defensive walls, no signs of conflict in the archaeological record. It also had no writing system and no pottery in its earliest phase. 2 things archaeologists had assumed were prerequisites for complex civilization. Caral rewrote that assumption entirely. The city also had a sophisticated system of irrigation canals drawing water from the Supe River, supporting agriculture in a desert environment. Its platform pyramids align with astronomical events. And at the time it was flourishing in Peru, the Egyptians were building the Great Pyramid at Giza, on the other side of the world, completely independently at exactly the same moment in history. For over 1,000 years, historians knew Heracleion only from ancient texts. Greek and Egyptian writers described it as one of the most important port cities of the ancient world, the gateway to Egypt, the place where the hero Hercules was said to have walked, the city where Helen of Troy sheltered before the Trojan War began. Then it vanished from the historical record entirely, around the 2nd century AD. In 2000, underwater archaeologist Frank Faagurio was scanning the floor of Abu Qir Bay, off the northern coast of Egypt, when his equipment registered something enormous beneath the sediment. He had found Heracleion. The city had sunk approximately 10 meters beneath the surface of the Mediterranean, likely due to a combination of liquefaction from earthquakes and the gradual subsidence of the Nile Delta over centuries. What Gaudio found there was astonishing in its completeness. 64 ancient ships, 700 anchors, gold coins and weights, hundreds of statues, including a 5-meter granite figure of a pharaoh lying perfectly intact on the seafloor. 16-ton stone slabs inscribed with ancient texts. Most remarkably, the city's main temple to the god Amun, complete with its foundation deposits and ceremonial objects, sat exactly where ancient texts had described it. But the geography of a city lost for 1,200 years matched its own ancient records perfectly. Excavation of Heracleion is ongoing. Researchers estimate that less than 3% of the site has been fully explored. The city that was a myth for over a millennium is still giving up its secrets. Homer's Iliad is one of the oldest and most influential works of literature ever written. For most of recorded history, scholars treated it as exactly that, literature. A magnificent story, rooted in myth, not geography. The city of Troy, they said, did not exist. Heinrich Schliemann disagreed. In 1871, using the Iliad itself as a geographical guide, he identified a site on the northwestern coast of Turkey called Hisarlik as the most likely location. He began digging, and 12 meters down, he found a city. What Schliemann found was not one city. It was 9, each built directly on the ruins of the last, spanning a continuous period of human occupation from approximately 3000 BC to 500 AD. 3,500 years of unbroken civilization in one location, each layer buried beneath the next. The layer now identified as Troy 7, dating to approximately 1180 BC, the period traditionally associated with the Trojan War, shows clear evidence of violent destruction. Burned buildings, unburied human remains, arrowheads embedded in walls, a city that ended suddenly and catastrophically. Whether it was the war Homer described is a question that archaeology cannot definitively answer. What it can confirm is this: a major fortified city on the western coast of Turkey was violently destroyed at approximately the same time the ancient Greeks said the Trojan War ended. A story treated as myth for centuries turned out to be geography. From the air, the jungle of northern Guatemala looks impenetrable, an unbroken sea of green stretching to every horizon. For centuries, that canopy concealed one of the most sophisticated cities ever built in the ancient Americas. Tikal was the capital of a powerful Mayan kingdom that flourished between roughly 200 BC and 900 AD. At its height, it covered an area of over 500 square kilometers and supported a population that researchers now estimate at between 100,000 and 200,000 people. It had paved causeways, sophisticated water management reservoirs, towering pyramid temples, royal palaces, and astronomical observatories. And then, around 900 AD, it was abandoned. The population dispersed. The jungle moved in. Within a few generations, the city that had dominated the Maya lowlands for 1,000 years was invisible. Trees grew through to the plazas. Vines covered the temples. The jungle swallowed everything. In 2018, researchers using LiDAR, a laser-based aerial mapping technology, scanned the jungle above the greater Tikal region and found something that shocked the archaeological community. Beneath the canopy were not just the known structures of Tikal, but an entirely interconnected urban network. 60,000 previously unknown structures, including elevated highways connecting distant cities, large-scale agricultural systems, and defensive fortification, suggesting a civilization far more complex, more organized, and more densely populated than anyone had imagined. The LiDAR survey effectively tripled the known size of ancient Maya civilization overnight. An entire world had been hiding under the jungle, and it took a laser fired from a plane to find it. In 1922, archaeologists working in the Sindh province of what is now Pakistan began excavating a site that locals had avoided for generations, calling it the Mound of the Dead. What they uncovered was a city that forced a complete rewrite of South Asian history. Mohenjo-Daro was built approximately 4,500 years ago, contemporary with ancient Egypt and the earliest cities of Mesopotamia. But it was unlike either of them in one critical way. It had been planned, not built organically over centuries, but designed, laid out, engineered from the beginning. The streets of Mohenjo-Daro run in a precise grid, north to south, east to west, with main boulevards up to 10 meters wide. Every building was constructed from standardized fired bricks, all cut to the exact same dimensions across the entire city. There were no organic, winding streets that grew up around older paths. This city was designed before the first brick was laid. Most extraordinary of all was what ran beneath the streets. Mohenjo-Daro had a citywide sewage and drainage system, covered brick drains running beneath every major street, connected to individual homes via smaller channels. Every house had its own bathroom and a chute connected to the drainage network. This is the world's first known urban sanitation system. Running water in the homes, sewage management at a city scale, in 2500 BC. The city was also remarkably equal. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, there is no evidence of a ruling palace or a dominant royal structure. No monuments to kings, no grand temples dominating the skyline. The largest building appears to have been a public bath, a massive structure that researchers believe served the entire community. Who governed Mohenjo-Daro and how remains one of archaeology's genuinely open questions. Around 1900 BC, the city was abandoned. The cause is unknown. No evidence of conquest, no signs of catastrophic destruction. The population of one of the most sophisticated cities on Earth simply left, and the Mound of the Dead kept their city perfectly preserved beneath the plain for 4,000 years. 6 cities, each one buried, forgotten, or dismissed, until it wasn't. Dwarka, an ancient submerged city that matches a story told for thousands of years as myth. Caral, the oldest city in the Americas, now flourishing at the exact same moment as ancient Egypt on the other side of the world. Heracleion, a legendary Egyptian port city, frozen in time on the Mediterranean seafloor. Troy, the city that Homer wrote about and scholars called fiction, until a German explorer took the poem literally and dug it up. Tikal, a Mayan megacity hiding an entire civilization under 500 years of jungle. And Mohenjo-Daro, a planned city with running water and sewage systems, built 4,500 years ago by a people whose rulers we still cannot identify. History has a way of burying its most interesting chapters. These are only 6 of them. Next, 7 ancient structures that engineers today still cannot explain how they were built. That video is linked above. We will see you there.